welcome to this fabulous episode of the AI Show. Best of, I am off recording a very top secret video today. That's why I could not be here, but we do have net new content. And I thought we would do something special as well in preparation for Ignite, which is literally next week. First, we'll have Nuance, developing a clinical research tool with Azure Cognitive Services. Derek and Jamin are both in it. They are going to be in the chat to answer any of your questions, so make sure you take advantage of that. So we're going to play that one first. And then, like I said before, to get ready for Ignite, I will play the keynote we did at Build just a couple of months ago to refresh the memory. We have some pretty fun things planned for Ignite, so make sure you tune into that next week. We'll revisit some responsible AI stuff with Minsoo. We'll look at what the latest was in Form Recognizer with Vinod, and then we'll get into intelligent recommendation with Moon. And I'll tell you what we have in the next show. It's going to be pretty amazing. I'm pretty excited. As always, though, next time we come on, we're going to continue to work on a rock, paper, scissors project. And a little hint, we use some of that stuff at Ignite next week, so make sure you tune in. B's going to do kind of a cool demo. Don't tell anybody. But it's going to remind you of some of the stuff that we've been doing. All right, so without further ado, let's head over to Derek and Jamin and Nuance, developing a clinical research tool with Azure Cognitive Search. Let's get to it. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk about Nuance, developing a clinical research search tool with Azure Cognitive Search. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking about Nuance, developing a clinical research tool with Azure Cognitive Search. I've got some guests. Why don't you introduce yourself? We'll start with you, Jamin. Did I say it right?
You did, and
Love
that's a 50-50 shot, so you did pretty good. My name is Jamin, and I am a product manager at Nuance that oversees a clinical analytics tool that we'll be talking about today.
I love it. Derek, you're up.
Hi there. My name is Derek Legenzoff. I'm one of the program managers at Azure Cognitive Search here at Microsoft.
Awesome. So for those that don't know what Nuance is, can you give us maybe a little rundown? We'll go to you, Jamin.
Sure. So Nuance is a speech recognition software company, and now we specialize a lot in AI tools and have gone into two main verticals, healthcare and then ultimately enterprise.
Fantastic. And what is it that they build?
A whole lot of stuff.
Oh, I love it.
But I personally work with a clinical analytics solution in the diagnostic side of healthcare. So diagnostics is radiology, X-rays, MRIs, pathology, specimens, tissue samples, things like that. So in diagnostics, we have a lot of 80% of every patient's medical journey usually begins with imaging. So that's either X-rays if you broke an arm, it could be CT scans if you're getting ready for surgery, whatever it might be. And I work primarily in that part of diagnostics healthcare.
That's amazing. And so obviously this is the AI show. What does AI have to do with all of this?
Yeah, we realize that about 97% of imaging data goes unanalyzed, meaning that it's either unstructured or it's not something that's consumable in any type of reporting analytics tool. So there's a huge need to be able to pull out key findings from the unstructured data or the unreviewed data within imaging. So it could be the images, it could be the report narrative from the radiologist or the pathologist. And so we use AI tools to identify key findings and extract those so that they're usable and consumable for healthcare.
So when you say usable and consumable, is it like there's a ton of images and I want to be able to figure out which images are important to diagnose a patient, or is it for something else?
Yeah, all the above. So it's absolutely that. But then it's also to how do you take the key report data from a radiologist? Because a radiologist will just dictate what they see in those images. And then that's just a report. And you can give that report to the ordering provider, or you can give it to the patient, but it's not really structured in any way that allows you to do any type of analytics off from it. And so there's a lot of opportunity in this kind of green space of healthcare.
So it feels like you're saying there's a lot of data, it's really unstructured, and we're trying to make sense out of it. How do you do this?
Yeah. So if you look at a radiology report, and we want to be able to find out key clinical questions. So let's find all the patients that we've had in the past or current that have pneumonia. That sounds like an easy clinical question to answer, but it's extremely difficult to actually get the answers for that because the data that you're looking at, like we mentioned, is unstructured. There's no key way for me to say, give me all of the pneumonia that every patient potentially has. So I oversee a product that allows you to be able to pull out some of those key clinical questions. And I'd be happy to show you a demo if you're open to it.
Yeah, I'd love it. So just because I want to back up, what's the name of the product, and what is it like? If you had like an elevator pitch, what would it be?
So the name of the product is Empower Clinical Analytics, and the elevator pitch is getting key data out of unstructured data. So how do you answer clinical questions that allow you to be able to drive good patient outcomes and key insights at your institution?
I love it. All right, well, why don't you show us how it works?
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen here a second. So what you're looking at right now is the Empower Clinical Analytics kind of homepage. So when you log in, you'll be able to see that you're able to search by a particular keyword. We have radiology domain, pathology, clinical notes. We can put a lot of different data into the actual application. And then I can search by a particular keyword. So I mentioned pneumonia. So let's go ahead and just bring up pneumonia. So I'm going to look for any report within the database that has the word pneumonia in it. I go ahead and I click search. And I'm able to then get 1,222 reports in this demo set that have the keyword pneumonia in there. And that's interesting, but it's not super relevant yet because it just gives you all the reports that have the word pneumonia in there. So I want to actually drill down, and I'm going to look at just the impression section. So in a radiologist report, the most important section of the report is impression. So we parse out each section of the report, and now I want to look for in the impression section any of the reports that have a keyword pneumonia in there. And so I click on that and I can look at the radiologist report right over here. But if you see, it says no pneumonia right there. Also, so I went from 1,222 reports now down to 473 reports by just looking at the ones with the impression section. But then it also has a lot of negative findings, meaning that there's no evidence of pneumonia or no pneumonia found. And so if I want to answer the clinical question of give me all the patients with pneumonia, then I need to be able to do some additional analysis on that data. So what I can go over here and click on actions and optimize, I can then maximize my positive findings. So if I maximize my positive findings, it removes any negation terms that are in proximity to the word pneumonia. So then I go down to 308 reports that have a positive finding of pneumonia that's in there. And so now I can answer that clinical question of give me all the patients that have a positive finding for pneumonia within whatever date range you want to be able to pull it. And now that I've created that cohort of data, I can do a lot of fun stuff with it. So my 308 reports with a positive finding of pneumonia, I can analyze that, click on it and say, all right, what are some key variables within the reports, their patient age, their status in patient, outpatient, and emergency. I'm able to look at what organization it came from and when they were completed. So a lot of these key variables that are good for us to be able to do some analysis are there. And I can also then export that data. I can save that search. I can create a data set if I want to be able to carve that out and compare it with other data sets. I can do something called a sequential search. Sequential search is if I have two different searches, I can compare them side by side and find patients that satisfy both. So this is really great for cause and effect. So if I want to say, hey, how many of my patients had a lung biopsy and then within 7 days had pneumonia? I'd be able to do a lung biopsy search, and then I'd be able to do a pneumonia positive finding search and find those patients that had both, were in both search results for some cause and effect. I can also create a signal where I'm able to generate an alert every time a new patient or a new study comes in that satisfies that criteria. So the real power with Empower is that I'm able to build and answer and drill down to answer a clinical question. And then we add a lot of intelligence and intuitive features to it that we can wrap around. So healthcare is a huge proponent of technology, but they oftentimes don't like building technology,
Right.
and they want to be able to consume it. And so for us to be able to add a lot of buttons that do, maximize positive findings, which are proximity searches, doing sequential searches, comparing two searches side by side, creating alerts whenever a new patient comes in, it has been very successful. And we went from being a kind of a smaller on-prem solution to now we've moved to a hosted infrastructure. We've had a scale. We've had over 200 research articles cite the Empower
Wow.
tool for their research. And we have probably about 1.2 billion reports that we're indexing right now within the application. So we've scaled a lot and we've grown a lot, and we've been able to find a really interesting niche in the market.
So it feels like writing something like this from scratch would take a long time. I mean, how long did it take to make something like this?
So we've been, Empower's been around for about 10 years. And really the last 4 years is when we've been scaling a lot. And we actually ran into some problems with it when it came to scale, because we were just moving so quickly. And we had our old index solution that we had wasn't able to actually be a hosted product very well. It really had a lot of complications when it came to the size of the data sets that we were indexing. So we were looking for a solution, and cognitive search was where we landed, and it's been the best decision for us for sure. We've saw huge increases in performance and accuracy with how they stem and how they pull out a lot of stuff within the analyzer. And so I know Derek is on the cognitive search side, and I thank him almost weekly for building this solution that we're able to consume.
So it's basically built on top of the indexing that Azure Cognitive Search does, plus the stuff that practitioners would need, in this case, like dashboards, etc.
Yep. So we've highly customized a lot off from cognitive search.
Awesome. Well, I know Derek, you've kind of just been watching. How, if people are interested in doing this kind of software, can you tell us a little bit about Azure Cognitive Search, and maybe tell us how Empower used it to empower clinicians?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. And at a high level, Azure Cognitive Search is a platform as a service, and essentially our goal is just to make it really easy for you to be able to build out a rich search experience. So what I wanted to show you today was a little bit of like what these queries that Jamin is sending through the Nuance Empower app actually looks like. Because the thing I'm most impressed with what Jamin and the team built, is that they're leveraging our search syntax to be able to help users find that information they need. At the end of the day, that's what search is all about, like helping that person find the right information at the right time. So in VS Code here, I've got some queries queued up. As you can see, I'm just issuing some search queries to a search service, and I have just a subset of Jamin's search index here. And so what I want to do is just start with that basic keyword search that Jamin showed us, where I'm going to search pneumonia. I'm also going to set count equals true, just so I get the number of search results back. And then I'm just going to select a couple of these fields so that I don't have to pull back all the data. It'll make the query a bit quicker as well. So we do that, and you can see we get 10 search results. You can see, in this first search result, let's talk about viral pneumonia. We actually have a few where the impression field is null, so we must have gotten a match in a different field. And the rest of them, the impression field also talks about pneumonia. So now to kind of drill down, like Jamin did when he was showing us the Empower app, what we can do is I'm actually going to switch the query type to be query type equals full, just so we get access to a few extra bells and whistles. And then I'm going to do that same fielded search that Jamin showed us. So when we say impression pneumonia, what that says is we're just going to scope down this query to this query term to that particular field. So we can, when we run this, we see we've gotten rid of those null values now, and so we're down to 7 results. And one of the really powerful things about fielded search is, it doesn't need to apply to the whole query. You could say, part of the query I want to search in the impression field, part of it I want to search in all fields or something like that. But let's go one step further and show the show the like the search where we maximize those positive findings. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just paste in some text here. It's always hard to type with an audience. And what I can do is I'm also going to also use this search field parameter now. So similar to what we were doing with that fielded search, search field is also going to scope our query to that particular field. And since now we have multiple clauses, it makes more sense to move that to the search fields parameter. But we're doing a few extra things in this, and we're using something called proximity search that Jamin mentioned. And proximity search is essentially one step above phrase search. And to give you an example, let's say you're searching for George Washington in a collection of documents, and what might happen is you might find a document, someone whose first name is George with a different last name, and someone whose last name is Washington with a different first name, and that's going to be a good result because we're searching for those terms independently. But we can use phrase search to make sure, like, hey, we want George and Washington to be together. But for Nuance's use case, phrase search would be a little bit too restrictive because it might, like, the document might not say like no pneumonia. It says there are no signs of pneumonia, and we still want to be able to catch that as well. So that's where the proximity search comes in, where it's almost like a fuzzy version of phrase search, where we're saying, hey, check if these two terms occur within X characters of each other. So in this case, I'm saying, I want to see if no and pneumonia occur within 10 characters of each other, and specifically, I want to make sure that that's not that doesn't happen. I want to filter those out as the results. So I'm going to find, show me everything that says pneumonia, but doesn't have any of these terms within 10 characters of pneumonia. So we'll go ahead and send that request. And now you can see we've been able to scope down the queries, the results from 10 results to 5 to really help that person drill down to the actual information they needed. And the last thing I wanted to show you is how Nuance is able to actually build those graphs and allow you to kind of see, what are the age groups or demographics of the people who fit in this cohort. And what we can do is we can use our facets for that. And so what we'll do, I'm just going to paste this in. We're going to do two separate facets. One, we're going to use a facet for patient sex, and then also for patient age. And age is a numerical field, so we also need to kind of say what are the buckets. So I'm just going to split this into age buckets, like people less than 20, people between 20 and 40, and so on. So when I run this query, you can see there's some extra data being returned. And so now we see of these 5 search results, 3 of the people were male, 2 of them were female. If we look at the age, it looks like 3 of the people were between 40 and 60, 2 of them were over 60. So now we get all these insights that Jamin is able to render on screen in that application, and then users can go and even add this to filter. So maybe you want to filter down to only see people where their age is between 40 and 60, because maybe the patient you're working with fits that criteria. And this is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. I think there's so much you can do with the search syntax, and I think Jamin and team are doing a great job of that.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Empower is putting these documents into Azure Cognitive Search. It's getting indexed, and then these queries you can run and pull anything you want out of that index. Well, anything that it's indexing on. Am I getting this right?
Exactly. So once you get the data into the search index, kind of like there's all these different unique ways you can query that data to find exactly what you're looking for.
Well, this is amazing. Where can people go to find out more about Azure Cognitive Search? We'll go to you, Derek.
Sure. So one great starting point is aka.ms/KM Solutions. And that's our knowledge mining solution accelerator. Essentially, it's a GitHub repo that just makes it super easy to get up and running with Azure Cognitive Search. You can throw a few documents in blob storage, and maybe within about an hour have like a full solution with the web UI where you can search over your documents and try out some of this query syntax as well.
Amazing.
And then, go ahead.
No, keep going. There's probably more places to go.
Yeah, I'll say another good link, and we didn't talk about this too much in this session today, but if you go to aka.ms/AZS semantic, you can learn about semantic search, which is an exciting new area of the product we've been working on, where we're collaborating with Bing to pull in all of their kind of state-of-the-art models to really help improve search relevance. So it's another way you can kind of really get great search results out of Azure Cognitive Search.
Amazing. Jamin, where can folks go to find out more about Empower?
Absolutely. So the same aka.ms/Nuance Empower is a place where you can go to learn more about the application and some of the use cases as well.
Awesome. Well, this has been super amazing. Thank you so much for being with us, my friends.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Also, thank you so much for watching. We've been learning all about Nuance, developing a clinical research search tool with Azure Cognitive Search. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care, my friends. All right, wasn't that amazing? Derek and Jamin are awesome. They're also in the chat, so make sure to ask them any questions that they have. I thought it was awesome. I think it's the first time we've ever had like a solution, an actual product, and the cognitive service behind that powers it. So it's cool to have both of those things. Okay, like I said before, in preparation for Ignite, I thought we would replay the build keynote. We had a ton of fun recording that one. My boss's boss, who's Eric, is a super nice guy. So I thought we would replay it again. So why don't you take a look at the build keynote that was just a couple of months ago. All right, roll it. So I was super inspired by Kevin's keynote, talked all about AI. I heard that you're the guy to talk to about doing stuff with AI. So since we're in a conference, I thought, why not build a conference app? What can I do to get started?
I get a lot of questions about how AI can help accelerate business change and how people can get started. In fact, we've seen AI and machine learning fuel innovation across a wide range of scenarios, from knowledge mining to predictive analytics, from speech transcription to computer vision. These applications of AI enable organizations to be both more effective and more efficient, automating processes to free their teams to focus on more impactful work and infusing cutting-edge intelligence into their applications to uncover new insights and unlock avenues of future growth. The tools available to developers are growing as well. Emerging out-of-the-box services and pre-built AI models enable developers to get started building enterprise-grade AI faster than ever before. At the same time, machine learning platforms are enabling developers to reach new heights of sophistication and scale with advanced MLOps for building and managing custom models. We've been doing fundamental research in AI since the start of Microsoft Research over 30 years ago. In the last 4 years, the breakthroughs we've had, from object recognition to speech recognition to machine reading and comprehension, they've all accelerated. In fact, just last month on the popular NoCAPS benchmark, our model beat the performance of people attempting the same tests. More than 45,000 customers are currently using Azure AI, including 90% of the Fortune 500, driving innovation across industries and around the world. Our customers come from a broad spectrum of industries, from established leaders investing in modernizing their businesses with a trusted platform for enterprise-grade AI, to new entrants driving innovation with AI from the ground up. Our foundation of breakthrough research, combined with deep learning algorithms, massive training data, and the powerful Azure computing infrastructure, have been the driving force in our AI evolution and in building our AI portfolio. The AI platform is how we bring all elements together to meet the needs of customers. The Azure AI Stack allows you to start with scenario-specific AI services using the applied AI services. It also allows you to leverage customizable, high-quality AI models with cognitive services across vision, speech, and language. The stack also gives you the flexibility to build your own custom models using Azure Machine Learning. You can start as high as you want and go as low as you need. As you saw in Kevin's session, we've seen a lot of ongoing innovation in foundation models for AI. For example, our first foundation model for vision, which is codenamed Florence, was trained on billions of images and text. By training a model on language and vision together, a multimodal model, it's able to recognize and label objects that it hasn't even been trained on before, a technique called zero-shot learning. Capabilities powered by this model will be made available in a preview as one of our cognitive services in the coming months. These innovations enable interesting scenarios like using a freestyle text query to search objects in an image or within a large set of images or video. Today, we're announcing that the Azure OpenAI service is in preview. Customers can apply for access now. The Azure OpenAI service combines OpenAI's models with the enterprise capabilities of Azure. Customers can leverage large-scale generative models with deep understanding of language and code to enable new reasoning and comprehension capabilities for building cutting-edge applications. The service can be used for a variety of use cases, such as writing assistance, code generation, and reasoning over data. From financial services to insurance to healthcare, we're seeing new and cutting-edge applications of the Azure OpenAI service. One example we're seeing is in medical billing. The Azure OpenAI service helps extract and summarize this billing content in a way that speeds up the entire billing process. And this is only the beginning. Let's take a deeper look into what CarMax, one of our first Azure OpenAI service customers, is doing. CarMax's use of Azure OpenAI service is enabling their shoppers to access information in a way that they've never been able to before.
Car buying is a big decision. It's the second largest thing a person will do after buying a home. CarMax disrupted the industry by bringing honesty and transparency. We have tens of thousands of cars on our website or through our app. And without talking to a human being, customers can get overwhelmed.
The challenge that we had was that we only could create so much content. There's manual effort, there's research, the writing, there's the proofreading.
Our writers can only produce so much content a month. It would have taken them years to produce enough pages to be relevant.
Azure OpenAI service allows us to summarize all of the custom reviews and put it in a simple to read and understandable sentence.
We're able to take content and feedback from a lot of other customers, curate it, and create this very tailored content for a specific car.
Through the fine-tuning process, we're at 80% of the content goes through without a human needing to be involved. We're estimating an individual would take 11 years to do what OpenAI service has done in days. We have seen a significant increase in our search engine optimization.
Now, the editorial team, they're able to focus their time on the areas most beneficial to the company and to our customers. There's so much possibility with OpenAI service. We're innovating at a scale, at a pace like never before. This is going to change everything we do.
With the growing adoption of AI also comes an imperative to make sure that developers are using and creating AI responsibly. To help model builders design, test, and manage models with responsible AI in mind, today we're announcing the Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard. The RAI Dashboard is a single pane of glass bringing together several mature responsible AI tools in the area of interpretability, fairness assessment and mitigation, error analysis, causal inference, and counterfactual analysis. This is part of our larger effort on the Responsible AI Toolbox to integrate a variety of Microsoft RAI tooling in one central place. Seth wants to build a conference app using AI. He's going to need a lot of help. Do me a favor. Teach him.
That's impossible.
If you want me to quit, just tell me.
I knew I should have taken that job at LinkedIn.
You know, I'm actually really excited about AI. But on the other hand, I have watched a lot of Terminator movies. I could totally make an AI business. Or I could move to a cabin in the woods, learn some karate. You didn't even see that coming. I made myself a yellow belt. Picture this, a conference AI app that looks at your pinky toe, knows what kind of programmer you are. A conference AI app that looks at your left eyebrow and knows if you're going to be a good worker. A conference AI app that knows how you feel. Oh no, what you're thinking.
Being responsible with AI is a core feature of everything we do. Responsible AI at Microsoft begins with our AI principles: fairness and inclusiveness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, and transparency and accountability. These principles tell us what we want to achieve with each AI system we create. To implement them, we need to think about three things. First, how to govern the AI system responsibly. Second, how to develop it responsibly. And finally, how to use it responsibly. Let's take a look at how we did this for Azure OpenAI as an example. Before you even start building an AI system, you need to think about the potential benefits, harms, and appropriate uses of it. For example, with Azure OpenAI, the model has this amazing potential benefit that it can be used to generate content or code to help humans be more productive. However, without the right design, it also has the potential to generate incorrect or even harmful content. Once you understand the potential benefits and risk, you need to design and build the system to ensure that it will work robustly and fairly for the intended uses. You may need to add further controls to mitigate any other potential risk you identified. As part of developing Azure OpenAI, we created a responsible AI system that works alongside the core model to automatically filter harmful outputs so customers and users don't need to worry about them. You also need to think about the use of the AI system. A system could be developed responsibly, but used incorrectly or in an application for which it's not well suited. For Azure OpenAI, to enable customers and end users to use it responsibly, they need to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the system. For example, because it may generate incorrect facts at times, the user should review any output before moving forward with it. We've released responsible AI documentation that helps customers understand how it works, and we've provided UX design patterns to help customers design their application to empower users to use GPT-3 effectively. This is an example of an AI system that we have developed responsibly for others to use, which is one of the benefits of using Azure Cognitive Services. If you're building your own AI system, then you need to go through this process as well. Fortunately, we have tools in Azure Machine Learning, like the new Responsible AI dashboard, to help you do this for your AI systems.
So this feels like a lot. Are people actually doing this?
There's a way to be responsible with AI. Let me show you something.
Gosh, why did I become a surgeon? My greatest responsibility is that of my patients. They're at the heart of everything.
Surgery is a significant decision. Previously, when we have a conversation with the patient, we would discuss the risks, but they really haven't been able to be personalised enough.
Predicting the risk of surgery is a really complicated process, and surgery is irreversible. So we need to make sure that we're operating on the right people for the right reasons, using machine learning and artificial intelligence to understand risk of surgery is just right at the very forefront of technological change. And the responsible AI is absolutely key.
And the beauty of this system is that we can say what goes into that conclusion, and that helps the patients and the clinicians understand what is driving that particular risk. Currently, 220 different fields go into the model. Basic demographics, age, other aspects like social deprivation, the past medical history, blood tests.
The Responsible AI dashboard from Microsoft does help us have more meaningful conversations with the patients or a clinical team. Being able to offset those inherent biases, which we all have, is really important for the clinician because they can make a sound judgment and use the tools available to them to provide the best possible care to their patients.
Giving them a personalised view about what their particular risk is does empower people to be able to make decisions about their lives. And that is really what we need to be doing with consent, is making it as personal as possible to them.
For patients, ultimately this is going to provide them the treatment they need so that they recover faster, they're able to do the things in life that they wanted to do, that are struggling because of a condition that we can do something about. Such a privilege to be involved in that.
Picture this, an AI-powered robot, don't mind the square head, I know that's weird, square mouth, choose your food, powered by AI. So you have flan, although there is two schools of thought on that. A good spicy paella would be delicious for it to chew. Have you ever choked on a meatball? I have. It doesn't come out. AI chewing robot. Question?
So what exactly are you trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, so I don't even know how to get started.
Sometimes getting started with AI is as simple as getting started with AI. In fact, at Microsoft, we aim to bring world-class AI within the reach of every developer without requiring machine learning expertise. Our applied AI and cognitive services consist of specific scenario services that allow you to accelerate time to value when building AI solutions for common business challenges, such as Azure Form Mechanizer for document intelligence or Azure Cognitive Search for knowledge mining. Applied AI services are built on the foundation of Azure Cognitive Services, which encompasses high-quality AI models for vision, speech, language, and decision-making. Each AI service provides pre-built models to help you get started quickly. You can also bring your own data to customize on top of these models to increase model accuracy for your scenarios. Our portfolio of services are designed for developers and data science and can be used in any app by making simple REST API calls or via the SDK, which help you configure those API calls easily. For example, say you want to expedite checking in at a conference. You could use Azure Form Mechanizer to automatically extract the fields from things like a vaccine record or even an ID. Or maybe you want to have your conference Q&A documents available in multiple languages using the document translation service. Additionally, folks might want to summarize the conference docs using document summarization. Maybe you want to get more session feedback. I can imagine a combination of text-to-speech and sentiment analysis to get a super quick review right as folks leave a session. Today, we're excited to announce new updates for Applied AI in preview. New pre-builts in Azure Form Mechanizer for vaccine and insurance card, and added layout understanding capabilities for paragraph, headers, and titles to enable more precise text extraction. We also continue to focus on language expansion, adding new languages to our pre-built models such as invoices and business cards. Power Virtual Agents will be incorporating additional Azure Bot Service Composer capabilities, such as new authoring canvas, rich responses, event-driven, and contextual triggers, as well as new telephony channels to further cater to pro developers, all available in gated preview. Also, Azure Metrics Advisor, new auto-tuning capability in preview, enables you to customize the service to surface just the anomalies that matter to you. Through the guided experience, you provide detection preferences such as level of sensitivity and anomaly pattern to tailor the model to suit your needs. We're also excited to announce the following updates to Azure Cognitive Services. You have already heard from Eric about Azure OpenAI in preview. In addition to that, Cognitive Services for Language now offers summarization for documents and conversations, which quickly surface the key information. The service also has several capabilities now generally available, such as custom named entity recognition. This helps identify your specific terms in your specific text. We are also introducing custom text classification, which organizes and categorizes text with your domain-specific labels, like a support ticket or an invoice. Finally, conversation language understanding is the next generation of language understanding, bringing improved accuracy, built-in multilingual capabilities, and much more. We're also announcing that translator document translation capability is now generally available. Scan PDF were previously inaccessible for machine translation, but now this most common document type can be automatically translated while keeping the original formatting perfect for a conference app.
So you're saying all I have to do to use AI is just call a service?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Take a look.
In September of 2021, when the Canadian government mandated for all employees of a federally chartered company to be vaccinated, Air Canada fall into that category. We wanted to make sure that we did some level of checking to have compliance and ensure that that was done.
Let me tell you about Air Canada AI team a bit. It's a fairly new team that was created about 3 years now.
And the team tackles a range of different projects from revenue management to cargo. The team itself is about roughly 50 to 70 people.
I would say that there was no exact plan on how this data would be validated.
For the vaccine, we had to validate 1,000 submissions.
We had multiple languages, we had submissions from all the different types of vaccines, and we also had submissions from multiple countries as well.
You have PDF files, other times you have pictures, some pictures that are not straight. Initially, it was let's capture the information and find out how we can make sense out of it.
We had to first produce a working prototype. We only had roughly 2 months to do all of that.
We worked with Microsoft to build our solution. We relied on FarmRecognizr a lot to be able to extract not only digital document, but also picture containing handwritten information.
We are able to recognize just through the first pass over 70% of the 30,000 submissions.
That's really what made the project so successful, that everybody was working to deliver a solution, and we had great help within Microsoft collaboration to deliver that on time.
Really exciting for Air Canada going forward, thinking about different initiatives and projects that we have on the horizon.
Example that I can give is we have some maintenance sheet. These are printed documents, and we want to extract information from these printed documents.
We're just scratching the surface of what AI can do within the airline industry. We're really excited to collaborate with Microsoft for future projects.
So listen, Abe, I'm thinking, what if we built an AI model that generated heroic copy for our conference?
That sounds like something custom, right?
Is that hard to do?
Taking custom models from idea to business value is hard. Add the need for collaboration, governance, security, etc. It seems like this task becomes impossible. Thankfully, we have Azure Machine Learning. Azure ML is a service for accelerating and managing your machine learning project lifecycle. Machine learning professionals, data scientists, and engineers can use Azure ML in their day-to-day workflow to train, deploy, and monitor models. For example, data scientists can experiment and train models using Azure ML notebooks, where they'll have enhanced productivity tools like code suggestions. They'll also have access to the Azure ML Python SDK v2 to do common ML tasks like uploading a model to the Azure ML registry for collaboration across their team. As for the ML engineers, they'll be able to easily collaborate with data scientists while using a world-class editor like VS Code running on the Azure ML compute. They'll be able to easily productionalize data science notebooks by converting them to Azure ML components, and will be able to create reproducible pipelines for ML ops. Lastly, they'll be able to work with the team to securely deploy the custom ML models to production with the new V2 Azure ML CLI. Azure ML bridges the gap within ML teams, provides a platform for teammates to work collaboratively, and helps teams deliver ML models into production faster. This platform will continue to grow, and today I'm proud to announce some new releases. You heard from Eric and Sarah about the new Responsible AI dashboard and scorecard. Today, we're announcing the general availability of Managed Endpoints, which simplifies deploying large-scale machine learning models for both real-time and batch inferencing with an intuitive developer interface. Additionally, we are launching a host of features in preview for automated ML, such as support for NLP and image tasks, generation of model training code, and other enhancements for product integration and MLOps in Azure ML. On top of that, we're very proud to announce our new Python SDK v2 preview is going to be released. This further simplifies the developer experience, especially for those who love Python. If you love using the terminal and command line, don't worry, we have you covered. We're also proud to announce the general availability of the v2 command line interface, which allows users to participate in the ML lifecycle without needing to learn specific programming language. Lastly, we're announcing integration with R Studio Workbench, which allows users familiar with R to use Azure ML more natively.
Would you like some? Gross. Listen, this AI is going to be amazing. So how about we use AI to limit access to our AI with AI?
You could, but have you talked to Sarah about doing this responsibly?
So I really wasn't paying attention.
Great.
She's right behind me.
Having the right tool makes a world of difference when it comes to building custom AI models responsibly. The Azure Machine Learning Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard helps put into practice the 3 pillars of responsible AI that Sarah mentioned earlier, available through a variety of working methods, such as the newly available Code-First CLI v2 and public previewed SDK v2 experiences, as well as a no-code UI experience from the Azure Machine Learning Studio UI. When you're developing your ML model, you can easily assess your model during training and testing time with the Responsible AI Dashboard. You can evaluate your models with reproducible and automated workflows to assess model fairness, explainability, error analysis, and causal analysis, as well as model performance and exploratory data analysis. For instance, in this ML app that Seth built, the model will unfairly favor those who are using spaces instead of tabs and not living in Antarctica when providing access to the application we built. When you're ready to use your ML model, you can make real-life interventions and policies with causal analysis in the Responsible AI Dashboard and generate a Responsible AI scorecard for trained ML models in your Azure Machine Learning workspace at deployment time. When this ML app is deployed and in use, it's important to build confidence in its predictions when allocating opportunity to all programmers. Finally, to govern your ML models, you can export and share Azure Machine Learning's Responsible AI scorecard for your models as a PDF report to contextualize responsible AI metrics with both technical and non-technical audiences, bringing stakeholders along as well as assisting in compliance review. Hopefully, with these new tools, you will be empowered to take the next step and start developing, using, and governing your machine learning models responsibly. Seth, your ML model disproportionately favors those who use spaces instead of tabs, and also those programmers not living in Antarctica?
Well, spaces all the way. And with real estate prices, Antarctica would make a great summer location.
Seth?
What's up?
You're late. I have one rule around here. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late.
Sad TikToks.
So, Seth,
Yes.
you talked to a lot of people today. Tell me what you learned.
I feel like maybe if I say too much.
No, Seth, I promise.
Okay.
We're not going to cut you off.
Okay. And I think the most important takeaway for me was how.
To summarize, the Azure AI portfolio supports many different approaches for getting started with AI. Whether harnessing new document models in Form Recognizer, building models from the ground up with Azure Machine Learning, or even using a combination of different approaches. Hopefully, you've also learned that responsible AI is at the core of every stage of building an AI app, and that assessing models for fairness is easier than ever with the new Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard. We're excited to announce these powerful innovations across every layer of the Azure AI portfolio, and we can't wait to see how developers continue to use these tools to build powerful, responsible AI applications.
That's what I learned. It's been amazing. Look, we're in a conference right now. Do you want to go back and maybe answer some questions?
Let's go.
Let's do it. The Ninja Turtle with the stick is the best one.
Yeah, but it's all about the bandana. And
Yeah,
that's the thing
that's
that
true.
makes the big difference to me is like who's got the coolest looking bandana.
I know. And I was going to wear a bandana for this, but they told me I couldn't.
Yeah, bandanas are they're kind of a little.
Oh, look at that!
Wow.
All right, Eric. That was so much fun. Thanks for helping me out, my friend.
Always happy to help you out and happy to work with such the wonderful people on the team and, of course, have a little fun at your expense.
Yeah, I always have fun at my expense, too, so that's great. I have no idea what you're talking about, by the way. I didn't feel any of that. And hey, look, who's here? It's our MVPs joining us via Microsoft Teams. Hello, everyone. All right, it's good to be here. We're going to get to their questions in a moment, but first, we did actually build something.
We did, actually. Take a look at this conference app that we've built. It's pretty amazing how we've put all the pieces together and actually built a real app using AI. I mean, why don't you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, so right here, easy check-in with Form Recognizer. If you have documents, you can translate them and keep the same structure. You can see there's got to be 50 billion languages there. I can't see. It's really small over here for me.
A lot.
But notice it keeps the structure. It's a PDF. If you want to summarize large documents, you know that your emails are kind of long. So take I can summarize your emails now. Read them. I can also talk, because getting feedback from conferences is hard. Imagine being able to talk into your phone and being able to know right away, oh, you were not happy. And then finally, the pièce de résistance. I'm not very good at marketing, and so this is a GPT-2 model running in Azure Machine Learning. Take a look at this conference app, marketing copy generator. This epic conference will be held at least 20 years hence. Obviously,
in the future.
Yeah, and if it's going to be in 20 years, it's going to be really good. I'm pretty sure. Finally, this is my favorite. The conference learnings will, best marketing copy ever, will be given.
They will be given.
Yeah. We shall be sitting then, reclining in a large room with, I mean, I could not have written this.
It's almost like Homer wrote it.
It's almost like Homer wrote it, indeed.
And, you know, if you actually want to see how we built this, make sure to tune in to Breakout 13, where we show the first few tabs of the app, and Breakout 21, where we build the heroic marketing copy generator.
Amazing. And you can find those breakout sessions via the session scheduler. Before we continue, though, any more additional announcements?
You know, there are a few indeed, Seth. So we at Microsoft are committed to advancing AI so that every person or organization on the planet can achieve more. In addition to evolving AI through Microsoft research-driven AI breakthroughs that are implemented in Azure tools and services customers can use today, Microsoft also works with other organizations to help the global AI community evolve, expand, and thrive. Today, Microsoft is announcing several key partnerships, including Meta and Hugging Face. Meta, previously known as Facebook, has selected Azure as a strategic cloud provider to accelerate AI research and development. As part of the agreement, Meta will expand its use of Azure supercomputing power to accelerate AI research and development for its Meta AI group. Meta will use a dedicated Azure cluster of 5,400 GPUs using the latest virtual machine series in Azure, the NDM A100 V4 series, which features NVIDIA A100 Tensor Core 80 gig GPUs for some of their large-scale AI research workloads. Meta recently trained the OPT 175 billion parameter model on this Azure cluster, and along with OpenAI and Microsoft, this really showcases how the largest models are being built on Azure. In addition, Meta and Microsoft will collaborate to scale PyTorch adoption on Azure and accelerate developers' journey from experimentation to production. In the coming months, Microsoft will build new PyTorch development accelerators to facilitate rapid implementation of PyTorch-based solutions on Azure. Microsoft will also continue providing enterprise-grade support for PyTorch to enable customers and partners to deploy PyTorch models in production, both on the cloud and on the edge.
This is really cool, but you mentioned something about Hugging Face, which I'm a huge fan of.
Of course. I mean, I'm also excited to announce that Hugging Face is a new Azure partner doing cutting-edge AI on Azure. Hugging Face has been on a mission to democratize good machine learning. With their Transformers open source library and the Hugging Face Hub, they're enabling the global AI community to build state-of-the-art machine learning models and applications in an open and collaborative way. Every day, over 100,000 people all over the world download more than 1 million models and data sets to solve real-world business problems with AI. At Microsoft, we're committing to sharing our latest AI innovations with the community and investing in contributing to open source. In fact, Microsoft has contributed to over 150 state-of-the-art machine learning models on Hugging Face to do amazing things like automatically analyze PDF documents or detect objects in images or power semantic search experiences or even transcribe speech automatically. I'm excited we're bringing together the best of Hugging Face and Azure platform and to offer our customers new integrated experiences that build on the secure, compliant, and responsible AI foundation that we have in Azure ML, our MLOps platform. If you haven't already, please check out Hugging Face's build session where their CEO and head of product discuss this partnership further.
Well, this is awesome. You saw some of the B-roll of some of the features, but make sure you go to that session. Well, like I've mentioned before, we have our wonderful MVPs joining us in Together mode via Teams. Hello. Look at these. These are such nice people. And they also have some burning questions. So let's get to them right now and helping us, always available to us. Sarah Bird. Man, did I time that right? Boom!
Sarah Bird.
Back at the office. We left you at the office. Sorry about that, Sarah. She's amazing.
Sorry, I missed the long walk.
I know. She's amazing. I know we ribbed her a little, but honestly, when we talk about our AI, it's super important. We always consult with her.
She's our expert on everything responsible AI. So yeah, we look for information all the time.
All right. So now let's throw it to one of our MVPs, Makedi Ohana Esteban Candido, content creator at Explicami. What's your question, my friend?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Well, my question is, what are the 3 biggest challenges that Microsoft sees for AI in the coming years, and how are you preparing to be part of this journey?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question and something we think about a lot of what's coming up and what's next in AI. And so if I were to say the 3 biggest challenges, one is, we've seen these really large language models like GPT-3 and, they're really powerful and amazing, the types of things that they can do. And now we're working a lot with customers to figure out how do we take that power and really bring it into the applications that customers are really going to value and use. And so there's a lot of work with customers hand in hand to figure out exactly what these scenarios are and how do we set things up just right to really make things work the way that our customers are looking for them to. Probably the second thing is pretty related to that is these models are really large, and so we're spending a lot of time focusing on how do we make it efficient to serve these at scale. How do we reduce the cost of serving? How do we use the latest and advanced hardware to really accelerate the models and the inferencing speed of it? And so a lot of time and effort going into that as well. The third thing I'd probably say is with AI just exploding over the last, 5 years, even decade, it's still too hard to use. And so we spend a lot of our time working with customers trying to simplify the way that they can take AI and use it in their applications. Everything from the things that we're doing in Azure Machine Learning to make things simple to, more packaged solutions like our cognitive services and making those really easy to consume.
That's cool. I mean, there's a lot of innovation. I love the large language model stuff.
Yeah, it's really exciting the way that that's really changed the industry. Transformer.
Oh, see? Transformer. All right, joining us next is Ivana Tilka, Technical Innovation Evangelist, 3XM Group. Hi, Ivana. What's your question, my friend?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Seth. My question would be, what are some use cases of Azure OpenAI that companies are taking advantage of right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, some of the things that we're seeing are, this model predicts text, but what we really want to do is have it do really useful things like, Seth mentioned summarizing emails, right? And so can you take text and summarize it? We've worked with CarMax and we talked about them, how they're looking at all of these customer reviews of cars and all the different car models and how they can sort of put that together. It's a massive amount of customer-generated content. And to be able to figure out what are the salient points from that and summarize that so that customers can read what other people said about this car and really trust and understand it without having to go through just tons and tons of models and things like that. So we've seen a lot of use cases like that. We've also, obviously, with Copilot, we see a lot of natural language to code scenarios. And it's even, Copilot is sort of the actual coding example, but it's expanding to a lot of places where, you can use a 3D modeling engine and use natural language to say, move this object around or things like that. So we're seeing a lot of that type of use cases as well. And then, of course, bots and, being able to use those in customer support scenarios where now the AI models really understand the language that we're talking and are much richer in terms of how they can respond to you. So yeah, we think a lot about all of that.
Sarah, any thoughts on large language models? What's exciting about them for you? Azure OpenAI specifically.
I think Azure OpenAI has been a great opportunity for us to really innovate in responsible AI as well, right? We actually need the technology to more deeply understand language and understand what people are saying to ensure that we're saying the things we want to say. And so this has been a really great chance for us to build the, Azure OpenAI safety system around the core models to really improve the quality of the output of those models. And so I think this is just the beginning where, language is an incredibly powerful technology, and there's so much potential for us to really have it work well in every single scenario. And so responsible AI is a key part of that.
That's a perfect segue. Amazing question so far. Someone asked me this just as a segue. As part of the RAI approaches, how do we ensure that humans are still in the loop as well as new folks and younger generations who will use and support this in the future? Sarah?
Yeah, this is a great question, and keeping humans in control is one of our core, responsible AI values. Now, how we do this depends a lot on the scenario or the domain. In some cases, it might be perfectly fine to have humans carefully design the end-to-end system and review that and monitor the output or monitor it in an ongoing way. However, in higher stakes domains or places where an error might have a higher impact, then you're going to want to look at other patterns. Like we may want humans to be inserted in the application to check for errors, or we may want humans to take the output and do a full review and go and use that. So for example, in Copilot today, the code that is generated is just a suggestion for the developer, and the developer can take that, they can edit it, they're still going to put it through their normal software development process. And so ultimately, it's a tool to aid humans, but not full automation. And so all of these different design patterns and guidelines are something that we've released as part of the Hacks toolkit. So you can go and see how you can insert humans into your application. And we'll be releasing new ones for GPT-3 specifically soon.
And this is really cool because ultimately, like all software is for people,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, your thoughts, Eric, on this?
I mean, it's just all about how you sort of teach everyone how to use this technology and really do it in a thoughtful way. And so, yeah, that's one of our core tenets is that AI it's really great at making predictions, and we want to use those predictions to help humans make better decisions. And so ultimately, humans are always the consumer of it. And so how do we make sure that there's always that human in the loop? It's a core thing that we think a lot about.
I love it. Also, we have Jasjit Chopra, CEO, Pantera Technologies, who's in our live audience. Hello, Jasjit, your question, my friend.
Hey there, thanks for having me. So my question is, what will the future look like for AI and ethics?
Oh, Sarah, future of AI and ethics. We did large language models, Azure OpenAI specifically. What about the future of AI and ethics? Sarah, over to you.
Yeah, I think, the big picture is part of what we were talking to Seth about earlier, which is, of course, that we need to govern the technology responsibly, we need to develop the technology responsibly, and we need to ensure that the technology is used responsibly. Now, of course, that's a higher level framework, and there's a lot of work to do within each part of that. And so a lot of the future, I think, is making each part of those real. In the last couple of years, we've made a lot of progress on governance and how we develop the technology, but it's still early days in terms of how we empower others to use it responsibly and build on top of it. So that's, I think, a big area. Where we're focused is a lot of product implementation patterns. Like we have the idea that models need to be fair, but what does that mean in terms of GPT-3? And so we've talked about the safety system we've built there. And so for each new emerging technology, we're going to have to take those higher level principles and build that product implementation pattern.
I mean, that's cool that we're thinking about it. I mean, even in our office time that we just had,
yes,
we started out with Sarah telling us the principles, and then at the end, Minsoo talked about how we actually do this.
Apply them. No, and it's really important to think about. I mean, AI is evolving so rapidly and has benefited so much from just the rapid expansion and all the work on it together. And one of the things that we have we feel an obligation as creators of this technology is to make sure the benefits accrue to everyone. And so as we think about how our AI and ethics going to go into the future, future, it's going to be really important to think about these models and creating them in really responsible ways and making sure that the whole world can benefit from them. And so we work a lot on that.
Yeah, this is really cool. Okay, so we've got about 3 minutes left. Top of mind for you, and then top of mind for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much exciting things going on, so many exciting things. And, what's top of mind as we think about it, how is this field going to continue to expand? We've seen, over the last decade, the theme really has been just make the model bigger. Deep learning, make the model bigger, and vision gets better. Speech got better. For language, you had to make the models much bigger. And they're still continuing to improve as we improve the size and the scale of these models. So how do we continue that trend, and how do we push on that while also making sure we've got the hardware and the systems underneath of it to really go and deliver it? That's going to be sort of a key thing that we think about as we push the frontier forward. And then from the customer side, it's really taking these lab advances that we get from working with teams like MSR and all the great research scientists, and how do we bring those to our customers in really simple, easy to consume ways that are really going to transform businesses. I think those are the things that are most sort of top of mind for me.
Sarah, for you.
Yeah, I think building on what Eric was just saying, for me, it's thinking about that complete system. How do we take this incredibly exciting technology and really make it work in practice and robustly and fairly in every single case? And that's a full system and application design. That's not just about the model. And so building that in for every scenario, for everything that a customer wants to do is really what's exciting and top of mind for me.
That's cool. And Sarah, where does even someone start with RAI? I wish you could wheel in that TV again for us.
Yeah,
Sarah.
Exactly. I think, at the beginning, right, you have to know what you're trying to do with the technology and what are the potential benefits and what are the potential downsides. And then with that information, you've got to really think about how you're going to achieve those benefits and mitigate those risks.
Amazing.
Fortunately, we have lots of great tools to help. So Responsible AI Dashboard, that's where you should start.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you, MVPs, for your questions. We really appreciate you. Also, Eric and Sarah, this has been awesome.
Always fun.
Love my teammates. To quickly recap what we've covered, we actually built an app. We had a Hugging Face announcement, some stuff about Meta. We had the RAI dashboard and scorecard.
And yes, don't forget to check out Breakout 13 and Breakout 21 to see our applications in action. You can find those in the session scheduler.
Fantastic. And for more AI awesomeness from Microsoft Build, be sure to check out aka.ms/build Azure AI. Sarah and Eric, thanks again for being here with me. And one more big thank you to our MVPs for joining us from around the world. Before we go, I have to shout out to our wonderful team who helped put our video together. Sarah, Minsoo, Eric, all the wonderful people, Abe. And that's our show. I'm Seth Juarez. I hope you've enjoyed Microsoft Build Into Focus on AI as much as I have. Have a great Microsoft Build. We'll see you on the flip side. I thought that was a ton of fun. I hope you did too. We're going to be doing something fun at Ignite as well. Not the same thing, a little bit different. So make sure you tune in next week to see that. It's on day 2 of Ignite. Tune in to that. Next, we're going to have Minsoo talk about responsible AI because we can't be responsible enough when it comes to AI. Let's roll the videotape. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk about the Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard. A deep dive with my friend Minsoo. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this wonderful episode of the AI Show. We're going to do a deep dive into the Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard with my friend Minsoo. Minsoo, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do, my friend.
Hi, everyone. My name is Minsoo Thigpen, and I am a product manager at Microsoft working on responsible AI tooling on Azure Machine Learning.
Fantastic. So let's dive in. Responsible AI, put it all together, set the stage. Can you do that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, responsible AI is a big topic, right? And part of what we do here is give people tooling, people like you, everyday data scientists, ML pros, the tools to put and implement responsible AI in practice. So we started out with launching an open source project called Responsible AI Toolbox last December in 2021. And now I'm here today to talk to you about how you can actually implement and scale this on cloud in Azure Machine Learning's platform.
Fantastic. Let's dig in.
Yeah, so there's nothing better than a good old example, right? So let's go over to our Azure Machine Learning workspace where we're going to take a look at our data. The scenario that we're looking at today is actually a made-up scenario. So it's synthetic data that we created just for this episode and for this demo. And we're going to be training a linear logistic regression model on a list of programmers. And these programmers we're predicting and giving a score between 0 and 10 on whether or not they're going to be allowed access to a GTP2 model. So, we have things like what kind of style you're a programmer of. Do you use spaces? Do you use tabs? How many years of experience do you have? What IDE you use, programming language, where you live. All of those really interesting things that programmers we are looking at when we're distributing opportunity across people who are applying for access to this model.
So just to be clear, this is all made up data. It's not real. We just kind of baked it up a little bit. Okay, cool.
Exactly. So we're going to have our training pipeline job in Azure Machine Learning. We've kicked that off. We've completed it. And we actually also have kicked off and completed a job to create the Responsible AI dashboard with all of our different Responsible AI components, which I'll go into in a minute. And then also a Responsible AI scorecard. And today in this episode, we're going to be actually talking about how you're going to be able to find those Responsible AI dashboards in your studio space, as well as a quick overview of what all value you can get out of these specific insights.
That's cool. Can we go back one? Because I have one question. This is something that, because I know we've talked about this before. So there's actually two jobs that's going on. The first job is training the logistic regression model to score programmers and give them access. That's the first model. And then once this job is done, you take this model and then you run the dashboard job on it as well. Is this right?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool.
So the cool thing about the Responsible AI dashboard and scorecard are their flexible components. So you can construct a pipeline job, run it. You can also do that from the CLI through YAML specifications, and you can also do it from the SDK with a Python. And then you can also do it on the UI itself within Azure Machine Learning Studio, which guides you through a nice UI wizard that's going to help you create the dashboard. So you don't touch code at all.
I see. So after I run my model, if I register the model, this UI that I'm looking, I guess this UI that I'm looking at, you can just go to the model and be like, okay, generate a dashboard for me as well. Okay, that's cool.
Exactly. Yes. So as you can see in this screen, we're looking at a list of dashboards that were generated. You would go into the model registry, which you can see here. We're in the model registry as well as the breadcrumb up here. And you click into the model that you've registered, which we've done here. We fetch our registered model after we train it. And then you'd be able to click into the Responsible AI tab up above and see all the Responsible AI dashboards that you've generated. And even cooler than that is maybe you're working and collaborating across technical and non-technical teams. In that case, you can actually generate a Responsible AI scorecard, which is going to allow you to download a PDF of all of your key insights and share those outside of your workspace.
That's pretty fantastic, because I can say something like on a Friday, I got to write this responsible report all day on Friday. It's going to take me all day, and then literally just run the thing and then the PDF comes out.
Exactly. And this is a tool that can really help you in something like, let's say, a compliance review, or you're getting audited for your models, and you can show that you've done your due diligence to assess and help understand your model and build trust and confidence.
That's cool. Now, can we look at one of the dashboards? Because I've looked at it before, and every time, and I've done these demos before. There's so many things in there. I was hoping you could maybe help me understand what each one of those things are telling us and how we can look at it.
Absolutely. So let's say you've trained your model and you're in the process of evaluating your model before you deploy it into production, right? It's going to be out in the wild. So you want to have a couple of different assessments to understand how your model and your data work together to give you your predictions. So in this view here, you can actually click on the dashboard that you've generated. And I'm just going to switch over to the tab here. And it opens up to a full page, and you're going to see all the tools and components that you've created for your Responsible AI dashboard. So there's a lot of stuff here, and I'll very quickly go over them. First, you have error analysis, which is showing you how error is distributed across different cohorts in your data set. So in model training, we oftentimes have aggregate metrics that doesn't tell you the whole picture. And so we have an intuitive, tree-like map that shows you where exactly your errors live, right? And then we also have a heat map for showing you across multiple features where your errors live. And so you can evaluate errors in your model this way. Secondly, we have the model overview, which actually is going to show you some fairness metrics here as well. Fairness metrics are essentially nothing more than showing you some disparity or some other definition of fairness as how your model is treating different cohorts in your data set. So here you can see an overview of the different cohorts in your data, as well as fairness, difference, and ratio of the metrics that you're looking at. In this case, you have the mean absolute error, squared error, and prediction. And you also have a handy visualization tool at the bottom to help you visualize this table form as well. Thirdly, we have data analysis. Because when you're looking at the performance and output of your data, your model, the data story is really important in understanding over or under representation that might affect how you've trained your model. And so we have aggregate plots, we have individual plots, scatter plots, and you can actually really key this into different cohorts of your data that you're interested in. Maybe I'm only interested in seeing the distribution of error across people who live in Antarctica. Then we have your classic feature importances, which shows you overall and at an individual level what actually is impacting the prediction that your model makes. So in this case, we see that style is the highest impacting feature for your model performance or your model, predictions. And you can see a breakdown of those as well. Then we have counterfactual what ifs, which actually this is a really cool tool that generates these diverse set of data points that are going to show you what are the minimal changes required to flip the classification or get your desired outcome within a certain range. And then we also have this awesome feature here where you can actually manually perturb the specific features you care about and see a real-time update in your prediction. Then last but not least, we have causal analysis, which is going to show you what is the causal effect of certain features that you're interested in, like number of GitHub repos someone has or years of experience they have on their desired outcome, which in this case is a programmer score, right? The programmer score is what enables them to get GTP2 model. And you can see it for overall, all of your data points, for individual people, what exactly needs to be changed, as well as a recommended treatment policy for each feature. So if the treatment feature, we want to understand how to have a policy around increasing or decreasing this number to have a real world effect on the score, then we have this really awesome set of tools here and visualizations that's going to show you how to actually impact the real world outcome of the score through a recommended policy and how it impacts the gain in your score, as well as if you don't have the resources, top 10 people to target here. So that's really brief, but essentially, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here to help you really understand your model and your data and develop it more responsibly.
So this is really cool. And every time I see this stuff, I'm like, I feel like I understand the error analysis, I understand the data stuff, I understand the what if and the counterfactuals, but my sense is I've never gone into each one of them. So I'm going to propose something to you. Tell me what you think. What if we do more of these shows, but we only pick one thing that we're like the error analysis, for example, next time we do, because I feel like there's so much to explore in each one of these that every time I do this demo for someone, I'm just like, I'm not getting all of it all the way. Minsoo, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea. There's so much here, so much richness, and I would love to share it with you in individual demos of each individual component, because that way we have time to dig in deeper and show you how it can actually provide value in your ML lifecycle.
I'm a huge fan of that. So for those that are getting started with RAI, where can people go to find out a little bit more?
That's a great question. We have a lot of content online. We have the Microsoft Docs, which shows you how to generate these responsible AI dashboard, what is even responsible AI, and how to read these graphs and interpret them. And then we also have a blog that's going to be able to show you like step by step, walking through each of the component.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Like I said, I'm excited to learn a lot more from you about each one of these things. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, my friend.
Thank you for having me, and I'll see you next time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about the Responsible AI Dashboard and Scorecard with more to come. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. Awesome. Minsoo's amazing. Make sure you go to those links. They're still active, by the way, so make sure you take a look at those things. Next up, one of my favorite cognitive services that feels like we should have thought of this a long time ago, Form Recognizer. Let's take a look at some of the new things in there with Vinod Kurpad. All right, let's take a look. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We're going to talk about the latest from Azure Form Recognizer with my friend Vinod. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking about the latest from Azure Form Recognizer with our friend Vinod Kurpad. How you doing, my friend? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks, Seth. It's great to be on the show. I'm Vinod Kurpad. I'm a product manager working on Form Recognizer. And really excited to be here today to talk to you about all the new things that we're releasing within Form Recognizer with the new 3.0 GA API.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's just set a level playing field here. For those that don't know about Form Recognizer, can you give us a 30-second elevator pitch?
Definitely. So Form Recognizer has a number of different capabilities. Think about it as starting with OCR. You can extract all the content that you want from any of the document types that you're dealing with. We even support a few different Office type documents, for example, Word and PowerPoint. Those are still preview features, but those are available for you to use within Form Recognizer today. In the GA version of the API, we support PowerPoint as an example. We support PDF documents and or images, and so you can extract text and content from each of those different types of documents that you're dealing with. As you go up the stack of Form Recognizer capabilities, you can extract a number of different semantic elements from the document as well. Things like layout, tables, selection marks, paragraphs, paragraph rows. Those are all sort of capabilities that we have as part of the Layout API. If you go further up, you can even use the General Document API, which is, think about it as a document agnostic model that extracts key value pairs from a document. You have a number of these common types of forms. For example, you fill out a form at a doctor's office where there's a number of different questions, which is like your name, age, date of birth, past symptoms and things like that. And it's able to process some of these documents without really needing you to build any sort of a custom model, because it can extract all the different key value pairs that you need from each of these different document types that you can use in your automation workflows. And then moving on, we have a few really specific document-specific models, which are things like an invoice model or a receipt model. We even have released now a W-2 model as well as health insurance cards. And so we have a number of these different pre-built model types. which are really targeted at extracting the specific key value pairs that you expect to see in each of these different document types. And finally, if none of these sort of address any of your needs, we have a set of custom capabilities. And we have two different types of custom models that you can use. One is called a template model, which is essentially intended for documents that have a very fixed and defined visual template. And then we have a new neural model now, which is also part of our GA release. And neural models allow you to extract data from unstructured documents as well. So you can extract, for example, tables, layout information, as well as key value pairs from unstructured documents. And so Form Recognizer is intended to serve all of your document automation and document processing needs, starting from simple text extraction all the way to really specific document type sort of scenarios that you might want to deal with.
And this is really cool because it's not OCR is at the base. It's not just OCR. And then you have structure, and then you have specific structure, and then you have generic structure to whatever it is that you want to do. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, it's perfect, right? Because essentially what we have is I like to describe it as three sets of capabilities, right? So you have OCR, which is essentially extracting text from a document. Then you have these document agnostic models, which are really intended to extract structure as well as key value pairs from a document, but they don't really care whether it's a document of whether it's a receipt, an invoice, or a W-2 or a contract, right? So it's all the same from a document agnostic model perspective. And finally, we have these document specific model types, right? Which are either pre-built document model types, which are essentially a model that Microsoft's trained based on data we've acquired, which are things like the invoice, W-2, and things like that. Or you could go bring your own data, label it, and use a custom model to extract those key value pairs or fields that you're looking for from these documents.
I love it. So what's the latest? So I know there's got to be some kind of announcement that you're making. What's the latest since we've talked last?
Yeah, so I think what I'd like to do is actually walk you through a quick update of what's contained in the new 3.0 generally available API, because this API is now generally available, and it's got a lot of functionality that we've added in, essentially a number of different things that we've done over the past year. So let me share my screen and walk you through what we're talking about here.
Let's do it. Your screen is shared and we're ready to go. Let's take a look.
Perfect. So I'm going to start off by talking primarily about the studio first, right? And the studio is essentially the best experience that you can have with Form Recognizer today. We've taken a lot of the feedback that you had about like the sample labeling tool and things like that in the past and really revamped the experience in the studio. So the studio allows you to do three specific things, right? First is you can explore each of the different model types, right? So as a simple example, I can go ahead and click on read here. This will open the read API. I can go ahead and click analyze. And now I have a few sample documents here that I can choose from, or I could bring my own document in and upload it, a specific document that I want to try this out with, and get the outputs from each of these models. So you can see here that in addition to sort of like the sample documents that I've got the output now. And you can see I've got each of these paragraphs identified, and I can take each of the content elements that I want from here. So the studio, for example, is a great way for you to go try out each of these models. So let's go take a look at layout, because layout is another model that got updated as part of our V3 API. And layout, if you remember from prior years, if you've used layout in the past, it usually extracts text, selection marks, as well as tables. With this new update, you'll notice that layout now does something a lot more specific, right? So if you think about all the challenges you have with document segmentation and finer grained detail within a document, you can get those answers to some of the questions that you have about documents you're dealing with. So we tell you what the paragraphs are, but we also give you a specific role for each of these paragraphs. So you can see in this case, the paragraph for the news today is essentially a title type of paragraph. So you're not only getting all of the paragraphs identified, but you're also getting each of the roles associated with those paragraphs. In addition to that, obviously layout also does all the things that it's been doing for the last few years, which is extracting selection marks as well as tables. And we're continuing to improve that experience as well, right? So for example, you can get tables as an example of things that are tabular data. It's just get extracted out of the document with no real training required, right? So this is just a layout model doing its thing at this point.
This is amazing. So before you go, basically this is a place where someone can go and just try it out on any kind of document to see what the base stuff does. And it does analysis of unstructured and structured documents, correct?
Exactly, right. So Seth, you hit the nail on the head. The studio is essentially think of it as a playground, right? So you can go in, select a particular model that you want to try out, analyze a specific document. Like I said, you could use one of the sample documents that are in the studio, or you could go ahead and bring in your own document, analyze it, validate that the results that the model is able to produce meet your expectations, and that's what you'd want to use. And not just that, right? The studio takes it one step further, because it actually shows you what the result is in JSON as well, and gives you a sample example of how you might want to use one of the language-specific SDK elements. In this case, this is a Python sample that walks you through how you might want to use this particular model using the SDK in anything that you're building as an application for yourself.
Love it.
Yeah. So the general document example here that I have on the screen walks you through the capabilities of the general document model, which is essentially extracting key value pairs from each of these different documents, right? So like I mentioned earlier, this is a pre-trained model. You don't need to train anything. It just understands documents and is able to extract all the different key value pairs that it's able to find from within each of these documents. There's a few other examples. You're welcome to go ahead and give it a try. But that's essentially the Form Recognizer Studio in a nutshell. It gives you all of these different capabilities, but it brings out each of these things in a way that's really easy for you to try out, validate that it works, and then take it and productionize it within the applications that you're building.
Awesome. And now this is now GA'd, so anyone can use this. Is this correct?
That's correct. So there's two real components that I wanted to talk about, right?
Okay.
The studio itself is how you interact with the Form Recognizer resource or the Form Recognizer APIs. And then there's the underlying APIs itself, right? So obviously the studio is GA, so are the underlying APIs. And so we just talked a little bit about the studio. Let's sort of like dive into each of the different capability areas maybe and spend a couple minutes like walking through some of the updates, because there's a lot to unpack here in terms of like all the different updates that are available within Form Recognizer today.
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
Right. So like we just looked at the general document model. Like think of this as a really good start to analyzing any specific document type, right? So you can bring in any document that has key value pairs or form fields in it. Click Analyze, and now you're able to get an output that describes each of the different key value pairs that are extracted as part of this document. So you'll see here that for example, as I hover over some of these key value pairs, you'll see the proposed start date as well as the specific value and so forth, right? So each of these elements is now extracted for you without you having to do anything more than essentially just submit this document as an API request to the API. So that's key value pairs or general document model. This model continues to improve. It can today extract all the things that layout can, as well as these key value pairs. So for example, you'll see that some of these things like tables that are extracted as part of the layout are also available as part of the output. But in addition to the output from layout, you're getting the key value pairs as well.
That's
you
awesome.
also have selection marks, and so you can see whether each of these selection marks are selected or unselected. And that's something that is just native to the model. It's just able to extract all this information from any of these document types that it's processing. In addition to this, the key area that I wanted to really highlight in terms of what's new with the new 3.0 API is we've now added a new model type called the custom neural model. And custom neural models are different from traditional custom template models that you've trained in the past, because they really enable you to use Form Recognizer with unstructured documents. So as an example, I'll walk you through a quick sort of labeling example of like what we typically do is you need to come into the Form Recognizer Studio, set up a new project, go ahead and label a few documents for what you're trying to extract, right? And the labeling process is super simple. It's intuitive. All you need to do is go select the text that you want and go ahead and label a document, right? So let me show you what that experience looks like. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we get a better view of what's going on here. You'll see that I have a few different labels. I can create a new label in here. For example, if I want to create a new field that might be something like payment terms, I can go ahead and create a new field called payment terms, and you'll see it's probably added to the bottom of the list here. You can also reorder this list and move things around if you wanted to. So I can go ahead and do that, and I'll move payment terms up here. And I don't know if there's any payment terms in this particular document, but let's assume that there was something that I needed to label. It's just a question of essentially highlighting the text that I really want to label, and then selecting the specific field that I want to label it as. And so you'll see that particular term got, the particular field got labeled with the value that I'm looking for. And essentially, it's a question of doing this for as few as 5 documents, and that should then enable you to train a custom neural model. So in this case, it's what I'm dealing with is a few different contracts. And you can see that each of these contracts are different because they're all sort of like with a completely different structure, different style, written by probably different entities, and as a result are significantly different. But I'm still extending this. I'm still using the exact same model to extract the key value pairs that I'm really interested in. In this case, like what are the different parties, and I'm also trying to do some things around clause identification as well to really extract some clauses. So this, with this, I can go ahead and label label as few as 5 documents. Go ahead and train a model. And let's go look at what the experience looks like when I have a model trained. I can go and now I'm going to try to analyze a particular document. So I'm going to go find a document here that I can use to analyze. This is a document that I used with the same training data set, but it's not something that the model has ever seen before. So it's not a document that the model has ever looked at. And when I go ahead and use that document and analyze it, I will get a similar set of results like what we saw when we were using the general document model, for example, right? So you'll see that I can get all the different key value pairs that I was able to identify as part of the label data set. But I also get all of the things that were sort of part of the model from, for example, from layout as well as the read options, right? So it's essentially, think of it as a aggregation of models. So what you're looking at is a combination of the outputs from both read, layout, as well as the custom model that I'm running here.
And this is cool because this is really unstructured data.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part.
This is exactly right. So each of these document types was different. This particular document, for example, that we just analyzed is significantly different from the other documents that we looked at. But what you're seeing here, for example, is the model is able to extract all of the different fields that I was looking for. So, excuse me. So I've got a party that I've labeled that I'm looking for as party 1. I've got the alias for party 1. I've got party 2 that I was looking for as part of the document. I've also got the alias for party 2, the agreement date, and I can also extract clauses, right? So it's not just about extracting specific fields. I can go find the specific clause. So in this case, I'm looking for a force majeure clause, and I see that the force majeure clause is on page 19 of this document. So in each of the samples, force majeure clause may have been on different pages and different sequences within each of those documents, and the model is able to identify what I'm specifically looking for and extract the right values depending on what the specific labels describe, without relying primarily on the structure of the document. So
and that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's basically, now, sorry to interrupt, but an observation that as Form Recognizer has become more mature, the documents that it's able to process have become increasingly messier, which is really cool.
That is correct, right? And in addition to that, right? So if you think about like most organizations, ours is no exception. Unstructured documents is becoming the norm in terms of like how organizations have to deal with this variety of data problem, right? And with Form Recognizer and with the new custom neural models, this is essentially the future of like how we assume customers are going to want to extract all the different key points that they want to extract from each of these different document types that they have to deal with.
This is amazing. So anything else you want to show us, or where can people go to find out more?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. There's actually a link at the bottom of the page that you can go look at. That should be the Form Recognizer documentation link that shows you what's new in Form Recognizer today. In addition to that, I just wanted to call out that there's a number of other enhancements or improvements that if you're interested in, please go check it out. For example, I'll talk about things like the pre-built models. We've got a number of new pre-built models as well in terms of things that you can try out. The W2 model is an example of if you've got a tax or a sort of income verification scenario, the W2 model is a great way for you to automate some of those processing. We also have a new model for health insurance cards. So each of these models is essentially intended to help you solve a specific business need dealing with a specific document type. But there's also a wide variety of updates in terms of languages that we support. We're now up to 164 different languages with read and layout. In terms of languages that are supported within custom models, as well as languages that are supported with pre-built models. We've now extended to sort of Latin-based languages like German, Dutch, French, Italian, and Spanish. And we've also got a number of other improvements in terms of both the SDKs, APIs, as well as latency improvements. So there's a ton to unpack. There's lots more that I can share, but I know we're running out of time, so I'll stop there and turn back over to you.
I mean, that's cool. Make sure you go to the link. It should be just below. I don't know. It feels like this is the kind of AI that actually helps businesses up-level the kind of work we're doing. Instead of like taking a little form and then typing it into Excel, we can just have the computer do it for us so we can work on what's really important to our business, which is really cool. Thanks for being with us, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Seth. It's been my pleasure.
All right. So, my friends, you've been learning all about the latest from Azure Form Recognizer with my good friend, Vinod Kurpad. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. How about that? Vinod's awesome. Love having him on. And I thought we would replay as the final video, a replay of the intelligent recommendation with Moon. She was really cool. I thought we would take a look at that. Again, you're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we're talking about intelligent recommendations with my friend Moon King. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're talking about intelligent recommendations with Moon King. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Fantastic. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I'm a program manager at Microsoft, and I work on intelligent recommendations, which is an AI and machine learning driven discovery solution.
That's amazing. Now, has this been around for a long time?
It has, actually. We've been around for 12 years, but most of that time we were actually been working with products that people are very familiar with, like Xbox or Windows Desktop or our Microsoft Store, and we've been pairing recommendations within Microsoft. And last year we got the chance to bring it to the world through Azure.
Fantastic. So what is the intelligent recommendation system actually do? What problem is it solving?
So discovery, which is a huge space, it's about finding things you know of and maybe some key terms, and that's search. Recommendations, it fills the rest of the space where a lot of times people have interests and tastes, but finding that right thing at the right time is a very difficult challenge. Sometimes you find something that sort of fills that need, but not more precisely. And enabling a way to go down the rabbit hole, if you will, to find that thing that really fits you is what recommendations is all about.
Fantastic. And so I put your slide up there. Why don't you tell us what's going on here?
So a lot of times, I always thought about recommendations as something for people to have a better life using whatever to find what they need. And so, of course, like it helps them to do engagement activities like with digital content or when they're shopping or when they're looking for things like documents. But of course, for businesses who are looking at recommendations and its usefulness, it's all of those activities that engage users actually drive up conversion, revenue, CTR, engagement. And it works on all sorts of different scenarios that people don't often easily connect to recommendations. A lot of times people think, okay, like only Netflix-like scenarios, but really all sorts of different UX experiences, like whether you're on the homepage for something, or you're on a sort of landing page for categories, or you've gone all the way down into a detail page for something, recommendations can help find more content or more products.
That's really cool. And so what are you showing us here?
So these two are just sort of an illustration for if you use behavioral information. It could be, you know, people who looked at this also looked at, or conversions. Then you can get personalization, like picks for you, like based on your historical activities, what would we suggest to you? And then on the other illustration, it's sort of showing you, well, at a product details page, what might that look like when you're doing an item to item sort of connection. And all of this is, I think we're familiar in lots of different ways, but we don't always know that it's machine learning. Our primary mechanism for driving this is collaborative filtering, but we actually, as I want to show you on the next couple of slides, do a lot more in terms of using textual information or visual information now to drive those connections.
All right, well, let's dive in. What do you got for us?
Okay, so the next slide, I do want to pause to say before I go into that, is that this is an Azure service. You can instantiate it very easily. And when we built it, we actually had a very strong notion in our mind, like our tagline has this, that we're here to democratize AI/ML. And so we wanted to make sure that it was fully turnkey. If somebody wanted this just recommendations, they could plug it into whatever ecosystem they have, and they can get going, whether they have a data scientist or not. But we also know that a lot of companies have data scientists, so like encouraging them to use this to get started so they don't have to build a full wheel, but sort of do all of the cool things for their business and then unique needs, they can fill that in. And then I'll actually let's skip to the next slide to show you some of the scenarios that people are starting to use with the service. So I think our crown jewels in our space that are the bread and butter that we've used for years and we know has tremendous impacts, like huge double-digit lifts in revenue in CTR, are all about like things that use behavior, such as if customers buy something, you know, what else do they buy? And we call that people also like. And I say do in our text as opposed to buy, because really one of the beautiful parts about our system is we have this generic schema, if you will, or strict schema, but we don't really care what you put in as long as the behavior you want sort of can match up. So if you put in transactions into this people also do list, you'll get people buy this also buy. If you were to put in, suppose I'll make up a signal that says people read this, then if you put that in, you'll get an output of people who read this article also read. So it's really adaptive in that way. And with that same sort of usage information, we get several other things actually. We get personalization for a user. So based on their historical information, we can say, okay, this is what we think you'd really like, and based on your tastes. We can also do session-based personalization, which is huge if you think about it, because something like in a retail scenario, online retail stores, very few people actually sign in. I think I've heard various different estimates, something like 70% of visitors are anonymous to as high as 80 or 90. So this is a way to engage those people to say, okay, we just saw you, looking at this within this session. So maybe these things interest you. Some other things that we do with usage information are like next best action. In a retail context, that's often called like frequently bought together. But the basic notion is, how do you create baskets of items that go together because they're complementary, because that's what people tend to put together.
This is really interesting. If let me see if I'm understanding you correctly, Moon, because I want to make sure. So basically, any action that your software, a user can take, you can use the intelligent recommendation to suggest similar actions based upon other people or the thing that they're looking at. Am I getting this right?
Yes. Just one tweak to what you said. Instead of similar action, similar items based on those actions taken by other people.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, and it all my examples here kind of show retail clothing, but that's like, don't let that fool you. That's just for the purposes of being able to talk to people and put a slide together. But really, the thing you're looking at could be documents, could be, support tickets. It could be videos. It could be digital goods. It could be, anything like legal documents. When there's a ton of volume of those items and a ton of interactions with those items, you can drive recommendations.
And that's cool because now that I'm understanding it better, basically any item that you have in your system, whatever it may be, all the verbs that use that noun, now you can make it so that they can do those verbs with other nouns that are similar. Am I getting this right?
Yes, that's a perfect way to describe it. I'm going to start using that now.
I love it. So this is awesome. But is it how hard is it to set something like this up? You mentioned earlier that you wanted people to be able to just jump into it and use it, but it feels like I've done collaborative filtering before, and there's some maths and other stuff involved. What is it like to set it up
I'll
here?
show you exactly how to do it and how simple it is.
Okay.
But before I do, I want to talk about two other things.
Let's do it.
So similar looks and similar descriptions. These don't use collaborative filtering. They actually use, in case of similar looks, visual cognition. And this example, I think, is a really nice illustrative one where we didn't pass the system any kind of notes about it or even behavior. All we passed it was the product image, and it's able to find other dresses with that kind of pattern. And I like to shop for dresses. I would never have called that red dress a gradient gown. I would have called it an ombre. So that's what I would have typed in. But then you can see the results give exactly what I'd expect by the look. And that's the power of visual stuff in cases where you can apply it. Like jewelry, furniture, and clothing, we've seen it do wonderfully. Similar descriptions is sort of like the other side, where if the most interesting, pertinent, is quintessential information about a thing is in the text, then you can use that. It uses the latest NLP tech, and we actually got better results than many other competitors that we looked at, above and beyond what they were doing. And our technique is actually patented in that too. And it really can find synonyms. It's not about keywords and searching, but really looking at the description of a thing, you can find other very, very close stuff. One area that it works great in is wine or other foods like cheese and chocolates. If you're like me, I go to the wine aisle and I'm I can't tell the difference between which has a leather notes or pencil shavings. But, you don't need that sort of expertise in a specific field to just be oh, I like this wine normally, what's like it, and it would find it for you.
This is cool because I was looking at the verbs, right? But it's the intrinsic nouns also that the intelligent recommendation gets to reason over as well, and not reason it's exactly the same word or exactly the same picture, but things that are similar as well.
Yeah.
Is this right?
Yeah, and I'll actually, this picture in the similar descriptions is actually from a real customer who gave us permission to show this. They have mostly home goods in their store, but they had a few things that weren't as popular. So something like people also buy or people also view wasn't really giving a lot of results because it doesn't have many interactions. And you can look at this description of Boris the Badger. It doesn't mention children, kids, stuffy, any of those sort of words, toy, but the results that came out were perfect. Here's a fox, there's a bunny, and a hedgehog, all stuffed animals. And it did that without looking for keywords, but really understanding sentence and semantics backwards and forwards.
Well, this is cool. Now I want to see how you do it. Can you show us?
Okay, so we do have a try with your own feature, but first thing you have to do is go to our website. And if you go to try to experience, you can actually play around with some demo data that we've created. But I will tell you the following. Demo data has limitations because, we can only have licensing powers to so many items. But in a real store, there are more than 7 sweaters, or 5 types of cookies, or usually there are more. So what we have is an experience called Try With Your Own Data that lets you basically upload your own file, and within less than 5 minutes, you would be able to start seeing results. Now, I wanted to make sure that everybody, even if they didn't have sample data prepared, could see what that looks like. So I'm going to just try that out for you guys right now. So I'm going to open this file.
Yep, we see it.
Yep. Okay, great. And I'm just going to save it to my documents. Okay, it's saved somewhere. I'll find it in just a moment, and then I can browse my files to get that download. And it's uploading.
So
Submit
you
it.
can use your own data with this, right? Is
Yes.
there like a special format that you need for this data?
Yes, and for that, we even have a quick start guide where we show you exactly what data you can get. Let me just skip to the bottom of this and show you a little bit about what that looks like, what that process looks like. So you'll go to Azure portal, create your account, and you'll upload data in the following types of formats. So can you see this? This is my
Yes, I can see it.
interactions table.
Yeah.
So this has a column for a grouping ID, like if things were purchased on the same order. It has a product ID number, whatever that is. And you can ignore some of the other columns, and it has a user, and it has a transaction field because that's what they were, and a timestamp. Everything else you can sort of either leave blank or, where we ask you to just put 1 or 2, just following this format. That's the bare minimum that you need. And you would actually have results like, I'll go back to my thing. Let's see if I have results right now. Okay. It might take less than 5 minutes. If not, we'll come back. Okay. So you'll start to get results like this as soon as you upload your data.
This is cool.
So new, popular, Brussels sprouts, like this is what we looked at to say, okay, can we get at least new and popular, and people also like modeled? And that's what we were able to do. And so if you were to upload your own data with at least interactions, and if you put an image in, you would get this kind of experience right away. But if you try and to do a proof of concept with us, this whole quick start guide, which is not the 5 minutes, it's I would call it the 5 hours to maybe a day to trying it out. And we've seen real customers do a full end-to-end solution with this, like completing, getting their own data, putting it into our simple schema, which is really 2 tables and 4 columns that you have to fill in, up and running within 2 weeks, from start of data science to pumping in the service to getting their UI hooked up and then seeing results. And the kinds of results that people see are something like 95% increase in engagement. That same customer had like a whopping degree of increase in their revenue. Internally, like even Microsoft Documents is now using this, and they've seen a 600% growth in terms of interaction month over month.
That's really cool, because if we're in the business of having people use our nouns, whatever those things are, our items, when people are looking for things, it's sometimes hard. That's why store shopping is so nice, because you're like, oh, I like this color, and you go to that aisle of the store. That's hard to replicate in an online store or an online purveyor of nouns. This makes it really easy for folks to find things that they didn't even know they were looking for.
Yep. And making it easy to even find the things you sort of had an idea about, but you couldn't verbalize, or you didn't know the name for. But you just, to even do comparison shopping, it makes it so much easier. In fact, like a lot of times people ask me, Moon, how much should you make the homepage be beautiful and connect it up with that with recommendations? And I say that's important to do, but don't forget the product detail page, like what we're seeing now. It's sort of an Ascension analog of that, because people usually gravitate to one thing that they're interested in it, if it catches their eye, and then they really want to see the other stuff, because they're usually very mission driven.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I usually get the other stuff is that's what I actually wanted. Well, this is amazing. You went to this website. Can you tell us where people can go to learn more about this?
Yeah, just go to intelligent-recommendations.microsoft.com.
Fantastic. And there's a little short link there, aka.ms Intelligent Recommendations. Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
I hope you give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, I know I will. If it's basically giving it data that you already have, and then adding the feature at the end, even with the images, I think it's amazing. I'm super excited to try it myself.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, Moon.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, you that are watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. We've been talking all about intelligent recommendations with Moon King. We'll see you next time. Take care. All right, my friends, thank you so much for watching the Best of the AI show. Like I said, I'm off recording a top secret video. I'll tell you a little bit about it more later on down the road. It's pretty exciting. Just to recap, we took a look at Nuance, developing a clinical research tool with Azure Cognitive Search. Derek and Jamin were very nice to answer some questions they came on. So thank you to those two wonderful people. We revisited the Build Keynote, to get a little nostalgia and to get ready for Ignite. It's going to be fun as well, so make sure you tune into that. We're going to do something different again, and we're going to have a special guest that may crash the party. I don't know. You'll have to tune in to see. Then we looked at responsible AI with Minsoo. We looked at the latest in form recognizer with Vinod Kurpad. And finally, we rounded it out with intelligent recommendation with Moon King. She is amazing. Next up on the AI show, we are going to have Intel Open Vino plus the Onyx runtime, as well as the latest from Azure Video Indexer. So make sure you tune into that. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. This has been another episode of the AI Show Live.